Alright, I'd just like to remind you all about the giveaway. The last day is going to be tomorrow. Uh, I'll tally the results tomorrow night and probably have y'all emails sent to you either tomorrow night or on the 18th. Maybe on the 18th, since I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow night anyways. So this is another story by Bill Holter. Assets and Liabilities. Do you know the difference? By Bill Holter. There's a very big difference between assets and liabilities, and the world is about to be schooled on this fact. We live in a world where the difference between assets and liabilities has been blurred. In the old days, an asset was something you owned, while liability was something you owned, while liability was something that you owed. Over the years, as everything became securitized, someone else's liability is now routinely someone's asset, but only thought of as an asset. It has always been this way, but in the past, what used to be seen as someone's liability is now only seen as someone's asset. In an article penned by Doug Short last week, we can see how far this anomaly has gone, and it's got the address to it. Uncle Sam's largest asset, student loan, haunts us for years. Looking at the asset side of the federal government, total financial assets, we can see how crazy this concept has become. The largest financial asset by the federal government is student loans, making up 45% of the pie. I'm sure you see the problem with this, but I think it needs to be spelled out because it's the core of how far down the rabbit hole we have gone. I would ask, how is this an asset? We are taking about 1 trillion yoke around the necks of our youth. Can this generation pay it off? College kids are getting out of school with or without a degree and entertaining a labor market where jobs are simply not available. I would contend this student loan bubble is no asset at all. It's a liability to those who owe it and a liability to the government at the same time. It will be seen as a liability to the government when they are forced to foreclose. Written into law is the fact that this debt cannot be discharged in bankruptcy. The only way this can be seen as an asset in the control it will afford over the future lives of an entire generation. Stocks have always been seen as an asset. It turns out, however, now that the only buyer of significance recently have been the corporations themselves. Bloomberg stumbles only one buyer, keeping bull market alive. Corporate America has gone borrowing binge, ruined their balance sheets again, and used this debt to purchase their own shares. This has been the support. Once this process slows or stops, will corporations be able to pay this debt back by selling their shares? We already know GAAP earnings per share are shrinking. Even with less float outstanding combined with bloated balance sheets, these truly be seen as an asset in a bear market. Real estate is another area seen as a traditional asset. The fact that real estate is taxed each year may end up changing this view. Many older people who bought their homes 25 years ago or more are seeing the taxes and annual repairs absolutely dwarf what they originally had to pay for their property. Expenses to the point that they may not even be able to afford a home that is owned free and clear of all debt. The classic asset is money in the bank. Here we have a twofold problem. First, legally your deposit is no longer a deposit, it's a loan. With the new bail-in legislation, when you put your money in the bank, you immediately become a creditor of the bank. The bank is not holding your money for benefit. You are in fact lending the money to the bank and people, an unsecured lender at the very bottom of the totem pole. In fact, derivatives owned by our bank has leapt into the very top of the creditor list and will be paid first when banks fail. The second problem is most significant and probably least of all what is exactly what your bank owes you. They owe you currently, whether it be dollars, euros, yen, francs, or pounds. And what are these exactly? These are liabilities of another country or another people. For simplicity, let's just look at dollars. What exactly is a dollar? A Federal Reserve note. The simple answer is not what it used to be. A dollar today cannot be defined, and I challenge anyone to answer it with other than what the constitutional definition is. The only way to bring a dollar into existence is via debt. Someone must borrow in order to create new dollars. It doesn't matter whether it is you, me, a corporation, or the U.S. Treasury. New dollars cannot be created unless someone else borrows them into existence. All currencies today are all liabilities. All of the issue yet considered asset by the holder. In other words, the wealth of anyone holding a currency depends on the performance of the borrower, the issuing sovereign. The problem is obvious. There's virtually no assets today, and where an investor saver can place their capital that someone is not else's liability, except physical gold or silver, or other encumbered God-created assets such as diamonds. The problematic situation to this point has yet to be understood because the credit Ponzi scheme has continued to work, and this has veiled reality. Globally and systematically, the world has arrived at debt saturation, which obviously spells the limit to the Ponzi scheme. Debt growth cannot continue, thus no longer can feed the Ponzi scheme. In other words, we are facing a credit contraction where the world will be shown their assets in reality, where nothing more than someone else's failed and devalued liabilities. This is very simple, core reason that gold and silver, which are no one else's liability, will be seen for what they truly are: real money, the ultimate in real assets, and no one else's liability. There's a big difference between an asset and a liability, and the world is about to be schooled on this fact. Standing watch, Bill Holter, Holter Sinclair collaboration. So take advantage of the contest, subscribe, comment. The contest will end tomorrow. Thanks a lot.